What's up, you guys? Tyler Huxford here, and for today's video, we're going to be talking about the 6 most profitable home improvements that you can make as far as adding value to your home. Now, the improvements that we're going to be going over today are improvements that are both going to add value to the equity of your home, the overall value of your home, but also are going to add to the amount of rent that you can charge from tenants. So they will serve for both purposes in this case. And for today's video, I'm going to be showcasing my wife and I's most recent investment, this triplex unit located in Salt Lake City. This triplex is located in the historic district in Salt Lake City, which means that all exterior improvements actually need to be run through the city and approved, which is kind of frustrating. So most of the improvements that we're going to be talking about today are going to be on the inside of the home. We'll go ahead and showcase that for you, though we will come back outside for one of the tips, as one of the improvements is definitely on the outside, and I want to make sure we cover that because it adds tremendous value to a home. But let's head inside. All right, so we're going to start this list in apartment 2 of this triplex unit, since this is where we've made most of our renovations since purchasing the property. So the story of this unit: prior to purchasing this property, there was a gentleman who had lived here over a decade, about 12 years, and during that time, very little renovation or improvements had been done, and so that meant there was a lot to do once we purchased this triplex. After purchasing this unit and then determining where we should start as far as renovations go, my wife and I drew upon the years of experience we have in renting out multiple units of real estate here in Salt Lake to ultimately determine what are the most value-adding renovations you can make to a home, both in the amount of rent you can charge, which obviously we have to consider, but also in the overall value of the homes. So again, whether you're watching this video to increase the value of your own home by renovations or home improvements, or whether you're looking to improve the value of a rental so that you can generate more revenue from rent, this list makes sure that you are accomplishing both things. So the first thing that we'll talk about is the number one way that you can improve the equity of a home, which is painting. Now, painting will definitely increase the value of your home. In fact, a great paint job done by a professional can increase the property value by over 100% of what you pay the professional to complete that project. But one of the reasons that this particular home improvement is number 1 on this list is because it really does not cost that much to do, and it's a great DIY project for anybody brave enough to take this on. And this particular project doesn't require a whole lot of courage or experience. Just about anybody can paint their home with the right tools. You can actually see that I've got paint kind of all over because I'm currently doing some do-it-yourself projects outside as we speak. I'm just taking a break to make this video here real quick. But this place, we did what we typically do with rentals. So when you're painting a home, whether you're doing it yourself or doing it through a professional, it's always good to do at least a 2-tone look, which means that the walls are going to be a different sheen and tone from your baseboards. As far as what sheens you should usually do, I typically recommend, and a lot of people recommend this, a semi-gloss sheen on the baseboard that looks really nice, and then an eggshell or a matte on the wall. It also looks better if the baseboards are just a little more ultra white than the wall, so keep that in mind. Now, if we're talking about your own property, so the home where you live, and you really want to maximize the wow factor as far as painting goes, then I'd recommend a 3-tone project, which means that the baseboard will be a different color and sheen from the wall, and the wall will be a different color sheen than the ceiling. But if you are renting out to a tenant, I really recommend only a 2-tone. It will save you significantly from a cost perspective or from a work that you'll have to do perspective if you are hoping to tack this on as a do-it-your-home project. I also recommend that you stick to white. I know that a lot of people like to get carried away with colors that they think are cool, but odds are your tenants are going to come into the home and want to paint those walls anyways. And when showing a home to a tenant, when you've got white walls, white baseboards, that just makes the place look like it has a lot of light and that it's super spacious. So leaving the rooms white and ultimately letting the tenant decide how they'd like to paint them when they get here, that's really the best way to go. A great paint job can make a place like this, which honestly looked a little bit crusty, and turn it into a beautiful home just right away. All right, so home improvement number 2 would be flooring. So for this tip, I'm going to come into the kitchen and the laundry rooms because these were the 2 rooms that we decided to redo the flooring for. So when it comes to flooring, flooring is once again a really great way to get over 100% return on what you pay for the project as far as value goes to your home. In fact, flooring projects usually pay for themselves by adding about 150% of the value you paid for the project into your home, which is pretty incredible. And what I also recommend is when considering what to use for flooring options, I really recommend, especially for rentals, LVP, luxury vinyl planks. Luxury vinyl planks are the very best bang for buck when it comes to flooring options as far as durability, the beating they can take either from you or tenants or pets. They're waterproof, they are really scratch resistant. They are also beautiful, they look really good. A good LVP plank will look a lot like a genuine hardwood floor, it really does. They are also relatively easy to install and then uninstall when you need to, because flooring is definitely one of those very trendy topics. What you install today won't necessarily be in style 5 years from now. A good luxury vinyl plank is honestly gonna last you over a decade, or at least it should. And it's your very best bet of never having to redo your floor, especially when renting to tenants. One thing I definitely don't recommend is carpet. If you love carpet for your own home, that's one thing, but especially if you're renting out to tenants, cleaning a carpet is one of the most, it's one of the lousiest things you can do. I feel like every time a tenant moves out, especially if they have a pet, carpets always need to be re-cleaned. So even though that carpet feels nice and it might even look nice new, the cost associated with maintaining a good carpet just ensures that whatever you've paid for the floor, you're going to have to reinvest to over and over again. And with an LVP, you really don't have to do that. If you're not going with LVP, you can do what we did, which is we went with a tile flooring here, both in the kitchen as well as the laundry room over here. Now, the reason that we did that is because we purchased a home, again, that is over 100 years old, has genuine hardwood floors, and it just didn't feel very respectful. That's the word I'm gonna use. I didn't feel good about matching genuine hardwood floors with a luxury vinyl plank, which is not real wood. So we went with genuine stone tile floors. In fact, this is marble here on the floor, which I usually don't recommend, but in going for this Harlequin style look, and we wanted to go with the white gray, the most cost-effective option I actually found on Stone Tile Depot. And I'm going to post the link to the tiles we used in the description of this video, because honestly, this tile cost less than $4 per square foot, which is better than a lot of the porcelain and ceramic options out there, which I was really surprised by. So even though marble is not typically the most durable option, and I do provide that caveat because it absolutely isn't, it looks absolutely beautiful and it didn't cost that much to do. So I think we're gonna get a great return on investment for this home, and the fact that we're using genuine marble, it's gonna open some eyes when it comes to resale time, assuming that we can keep this nice. Let's go ahead and move into the laundry room to take a look at this tile just really quickly. So this tile I made to resemble a wood floor, but this is actually tile. It is not LVP, which means that it'll be waterproof. Another reason that we did tile in both these floors is because tile makes it so that any floor that is creaking a little bit, it can actually make it stand out a little firmer. So now when I step in the kitchen and in the laundry room, it doesn't creak at all, which is really nice. Okay, talking about home improvement number 3, or a way that you can add value to your home, we're gonna be talking about appliances. So nice appliances is a really great way to add value to your home. It also adds to the appeal as far as prospective tenants who are considering renting out your place. It also is going to impact the amount that a tenant is willing to pay to live in your residence. So in this residence, we actually did not have a washer or a dryer in this entire unit. The other 2 units in this triplex have their own washer dryers, but this unit didn't. So a lot of people who are really interested in renting out this unit ultimately were turned off by the fact that they didn't have a washer and a dryer. So if you have a condo or an apartment that doesn't have its own laundry unit, really consider adding a washer dryer unit to your apartment. Even if you have to add a water or an electric hookup, you can usually find somebody who can do that relatively inexpensively. Get that done, and then you'll have 2 appliances that will really pay for themselves as far as the number of tenants who are interested in your place, as well as the money that they're willing to pay having their own washing units in your apartment. And if you think you don't have space for a washer dryer, consider stackable units. Samsung has really great prices on stacking washers and dryers. This is actually the 2nd time that I've used Samsung washer and dryer units. The stackables, in fact, I use the exact same washer dryer for a studio Airbnb that we have in Salt Lake City, and we've run that for over 2 years now, and those appliances have given us absolutely no trouble. I'm not sure why Samsung gets such a bad rep when it comes to appliances. The other appliances that you consider, it's always good to have a microwave, and of course a stove and a fridge. Simply upgrading these items is something that you can do, and it'll instantly add appeal to your place. They look really sharp. Just make sure when you're purchasing your appliances, you consider either the way that your apartment looks currently, because you want to make sure that it looks good with what you've got, or if you are planning to redo things like the paint and the flooring like we're talking today, make sure you purchase the appliances that eventually will match with what you got. That's pretty important. Okay, since we are in the kitchen, we're going to talk about home improvement number 4, which is cabinetry. So there's no doubt there is a major return on investment as well as just overall appeal for your home when you update or upgrade your cabinetry. So I personally really like purchasing new cabinetry. I just think that that's the more authentic way to do it, and long term, that's where you get the most bang for buck when you go to resell your property. However, given that we were under a time constraint and we had new tenants coming in relatively quickly, we actually opted to paint these cabinets, which were once oak cabinets. I mean, I guess they still are oak, right? But we went over it with a nice primer as well as a white paint. We actually did this on our own, and we did this with paint brushes. I strongly recommend that if you go to paint cabinets that you actually use a paint sprayer. It gives it more of a factory finish. They look like genuine new cabinets when you do it that way. But for the price that we paid for this cabinetry, it turned out pretty well, and it looks a lot better than just the really outdated oak cabinets that we used to have. I'm actually going to show you what kind of an example of what we're talking about here. So our cabinets used to look like this, which a lot of these built-ins just look really nice. Like this wood here is actually in great shape, so I wouldn't do anything to this. But the cabinets in the kitchen were super scratched up. There were parts of it that had really great shine. There were parts that weren't. Ultimately, I will want to redo these cabinets because I think that eventually we're going to relocate where the fridge goes, the oven, the sink, just the overall layout of the kitchen. And until we have that completely nailed down, this is kind of a temporary fix for us, but it already makes the place look much better in photos. We get a lot more clicks as far as people interested in staying in the property, as well as the amount of rent that people were willing to pay. Bottom line, cabinets is one of the number one things that people are drawn to in the most important room in a house. So spending a little bit of money here really helps. Just a forewarning, before taking on painting cabinets as part of a DIY project, I would forewarn that painting cabinets is really a mess. If you want to do it well, I mean, you should be taking these things apart. There's multiple steps as far as sanding, priming, and then painting. This is a really tedious project. So if you're going to take this on to avoid labor costs, which is ultimately the highest cost you pay as far as painting goes, just be forewarned, this is going to be a lot of work. All right, for home improvement tip number 6, we're actually going to be stepping outside here. I told you there was at least one tip that we would be going outside for, and that would be simple yard work. So when we purchased this property, it was pretty overgrown as far as the trees and the neighbor lot, which somebody owns and just doesn't take care of. I would actually like to buy this lot. So if you're the owner of this lot, step forward, let's talk. But the branches here were very overgrown, and it covered like almost half of the property, which was no good. And then the grass was overgrown. There were a lot of weeds here. So just simply taking a weekend and cleaning things up can really add to instant curb appeal to your property. But another thing that I strongly recommend, mulch gardens look really good in a lot. And there are a lot of people I know who do the typical mulch thing, which is that they will buy new bags of mulch every year or every 2 years as it starts to lose color and dry out, and they'll replace it, and that can add up over time. One of the things that you can do to add value to your property instantly is add these rubber nuggets here. So this is actually not real mulch. These are recycled tires that have been cut up and dyed, and they hold their color guaranteed for more than 12 years. So any place where there was mulch, we've simply replaced with these rubber nuggets. We've actually put a line a strip of it all the way around the property. And it's one of the things that a lot of the neighbors have already commented to me about how nice the place looks, how much better it looks than previously. And these bags, I mean, these are like $5 a bag in the right season. You can put them on your property. They look great. You can still plant your flowers in them as long as there's soil underneath. This is a really cheap way to ensure that your property looks good now, and also a great way to ensure that your property is going to look good 10, 12 years from now, as the nuggets will hold their color. So coming back into the property, just the story of this property is pretty incredible. So upon purchasing the property, we actually rented the unit out in its first month unoccupied for $1,200. And this is just a 1-bedroom. It's got 1 bathroom here. Nothing super sexy about it. In fact, when we were first renting it out, it looked pretty crusty. But due to the great location, we were still able to rent it out for a little over $1,200 a month. But by doing these renovations, the painting, the flooring, the new appliances, and the laundry room, we are now charging and earning $2,300 worth of rent a month in this unit. This was due to some simple home improvements, which altogether cost less than $10,000 to do. So for the money that we spent on the flooring, the painting, as well as the appliances and the cabinetry, which was a little over $8,000, we will ultimately be earning that money back in less than 4 months. So when you see those rentals that require just a little bit of work and you're trying to quantify, okay, what would it take to take a rental which is livable and turn that into a really nice rental, oftentimes it just takes a little bit of work, a little bit of attention, and perhaps a little bit of money. Again, in this case, for this 1,000 square foot apartment, less than $10,000, to bring it up to par and to be able to charge, in our case, $1,000 a month more than it was previously earning. All in all, these improvements are going to help my family and I earn $12,000 more a year in rent, which we can in turn use for further improvements on the home or other investments, down payment on another house, or just overall better living. So that's it for today's video, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed this content. If you did, please like and subscribe. Safe investing out there, folks, and we'll see you next time.